So that was the impetus of that, where it became a lot more eyeballs on it, a lot more involvement on Dimension side. The bottom line is I wrote a draft with Jamie Lee in it. At that point, because it was becoming something where they were spending a lot more money and there was a lot more investment, a lot more potential, Kevin Williamson at the time, and still is, but particularly at the time.
Of Scream fame, correct?
Exactly.
Well,
Scream, and I know what you did last summer.
Oh, I know. And those were out at the time?
Those were out in huge hits,
Okay.
and he was like the Miramax Wonder Boy.
Okay.
And they wanted him, somehow his name attached to this.
All right.
So I'll tell you this right now. Had I not kind of come in the back door and it was like a direct-to-video thing and it became what it became, if Jamie Lee had shown interest from the get, I would
They would have just went
they would have went
right
Kevin.
to him.
Okay. Oh,
Absolutely.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a different thing. Dimension wanted it to be the final Halloween.
Okay.
They wanted her to kill Michael Myers.
Michael Myers is dead.
Moustapha was like, hell no, not happening.
Was his
That's
baby.
That's my bread and butter. And
Yeah.
at the time, you did not do this alternate timelines and reboots where what
All
you
this
did
stuff.
didn't happen. And,
Yeah.
you open up this portal and it's a whole other thing. None of that was. So if you kill Michael Myers, you've killed him.
That's it.
it's over.
So he was absolutely not. Dimension's like, no, but that's what we want to do. And from what I understand, the deal was Dimension had distribution only, no creative,
Okay.
and Trancas International, which was Moustapha's company, had full creative. At one point, they went to court, so I had to
Wow.
stop writing.
Dimension and
Dimension
Trancas.
and Trancas. They went to court over it. So my agent said, stop writing. And that was like maybe 6 months, it seems like. Maybe it was 3 to 6 months time.
Now, I don't want to interrupt.
No,
you
go ahead.
But since we're talking a little bit about process, and what did you do then in the interim? Like as a writer, if they tell you to stop writing, what do you do? Do you move on to another project?
I wrote another spec probably,
Okay.
or worked on other ideas,
And because you have to constantly be writing.
Or be thinking, right? Like
You
you're,
do,
you're
because the
processing.
fallacy, and this is a whole separate topic, but the fallacy
there.
is, wow, writers make, and they can, and they do. I don't want to say it's not a lot of money. And in the case of H2O, it was a short process. And I remember Richard saying to me, this is not how it typically works. Like from the time you write something to it being released being a year and a half. Typically it's 3 years, 4 years, like it was
Wow.
with Pray for the Devil. 4
Right.
years from the time I wrote a draft and it got optioned to when it's released.
Sure.
So what seems like a lot of money, and
It's
it
spread out.
is, but it's amortized over 4 years.
Right.
Sure.
And at that point, it's not a lot of money. So you
Yeah.
can't rely on that one. So you always have to have other things going. So that's
Great.
probably what was happening.
Awesome. Okay.
Yep.
They come back to me. They say, everything's been resolved.
Okay.
You take your notes, your creative notes, only from Trancas International and Dimensions solely distribution. Great. We're not killing Michael Myers. I get a call from Bob Weinstein, a conference call. And he says to me, this is how it's going to work. You're going to write a draft for Moustapha that you'll turn into Moustapha, where he doesn't die. And you're going to write a draft that we're going to shoot for Dimension, where he dies. And I, at age 26, say, I'm not going to do that. Dead silence. I said, you're both adults. Like, get on the phone and have
Figure
a
it
conversation. Come to an agreement. I'll do it. I don't want to lie.
Sure.
He went off. He called me every name in the book, every expletive strung together in ways that I didn't think could be strung together. My wife, who was pregnant with Paul, who's now 26, was like 2 rooms down. She can hear him screaming at me over the phone. And he hangs up on me. Oh, he says, I pay your goddamn bills.
Oh, jeez.
Do you know who I am? I'm the president of Dimension Films. And again, being 26, I said, Bob, I don't respect people. I don't respect titles. I respect people.
Good for you.
Wow. Not a lot of people would do that.
No, I'm also Italian. So
Okay, yes,
that's a knee-jerk thing. But anyways, click, he hangs up. Richard was still on the call and some assistants. And he's like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. We'll call you back.
Oh, okay. We need to regroup.
Yeah, we need to
That's
regroup.
producer speak for we're going to regroup.
Yeah. So I thought, well, that was fun working on that for the time. But what ended up happening was they went. Now, unfortunately, Moustapha never believed. Never believed
It's a shame.
that he's like, sure, sure, you told him no, which I did, but he didn't believe it. So I made enemies there.
and then disbelief on that.
And then dimension, yeah. But I mean, I knew I didn't. I just wasn't going to do that. That just felt unsavory. I'm Catholic, so there's the Catholic guilt thing. But what ended up happening is they had to come above board. So what Kevin did, and this was Kevin's contribution, is he said, look, here's how we're going to kill him. But in the sequel, we're going to reveal it wasn't him. It was actually a guard that had tape over its mouth. And he was, it gave Moustapha an out.
Okay.
So then Moustapha's like, okay, well, we can chop his head off. But there were numerous ways we killed him, but it ended up being the axe to the head.
Can we be friends? Can we be friends?